What's a more fitting place to race for the world leader in GT racing than a circuit constructed with global vision? Austin, Texas plays host today in Assetto Corsa Competizione for the kickoff of a brand new season of sim racing. CrowdStrike supports SRO Motorsports America and Fanatec GT World Challenge globally as endpoint protection and cloud security. And while the threats and efforts to stop them never take a break, friends and family do. Welcome to Circuit of the Americas and the first round of 5 for the CrowdStrike Cup Virtual Racing League. Hi everybody, Kyle Heyer alongside DJ Clark at this monolithic 3.5 mile, 20-turn circuit in the heart of Texas.
Hi, Kyle. It is great to be here, as you said, around a world-class facility. And in the GT cars that we're about to send out, it is some of the best racing you are going to see. The highlights of this circuit, well, we've got to talk about Big Red. The big elevation change there coming up into turn 1. From there, we work our way through the S's. Tightening sequence of corners there that get progressively more difficult with each flick that you do to the right and the left. Then that'll bring you all the way out to turn 11 and down the back straightaway in your primary overtaking opportunity, which is down in turn 12. The stadium section, as it is called, which is 13 all the way through 19, really going to bring some interesting back and forth racing, and then that's going to bring us right back onto the main straightaway here for an absolutely stellar lap. There's a lot of elevation change around here. There's a lot of difficulty around this 3.45 mile circuit, and of course, because it is an FIA Grade 1 facility, there's a lot of runoff and those big sausage curbs on the outside ready to come back and bite you.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of runoff, but there's also a lot of challenges here. It's a very technical circuit, DJ. Welcome aboard. Glad to be back with you here for the CrowdStrike Cup Virtual Racing League. It's been a long year, and as we head into the winter and the real cars get stored in the garage, we go virtual racing here. Really excited. 10-minute qualifying, open qualifying, and then a 40-minute sprint race. It is a big field with both pros and AMs in the field here, DJ, separating the classes out, but a big field nonetheless. It is an enormous field for that climb up Big Red on the opening lap.
Yeah, it certainly is. And one of the things you've got to talk about when you work your way up Big Red is just the sheer width of that corner. It is absolutely inviting to be able to send multiple cars down to the inside, try to go for that opportunity. But discretion is the better part of valor, particularly on turn 1. Trying to sort everything out, you don't want to go for that late braking maneuver. It's much better to kind of be a little bit more cautious, let the race come to you, rather than going for the bonsai move into turn 1.
Yeah, and that's going to make qualifying such an important session as well, because you're only going to get 10 minutes. That's not a lot of time around here. That's maybe 4 laps, and that's if you go immediately at the start of the session. Once qualifying's complete, that's all you got. It's going to matter when you hit the green flag here and head up that hill. Surviving the opening lap is going to be a big key as well, DJ.
Yeah, it very much is. I mean, we saw in real life here when we were here with Fanatec GT World Challenge America, or indeed any of our series that the SRO Motorsports Group America paddock brings with them, that turn 1 was certainly a flashpoint for all of that incident, so you've got to be careful there. But Kyle, this turn 16, 17, and 18, one of my favorite corners on the track. It's just about flat out in this GT machinery. It really takes a lot of bravery, a lot of tenacity to be able to make it play, but it looks like cars are headed out on track and we're ready to figure out who's the fastest.
Yeah, qualifying is just about getting underway. You see the timer at the top of the screen. There, of course, we're racing in Assetto Corsa Competizione, one of the most faithful reproductions of Circuit of the Americas that you can have in sim racing. And with this enormous field, we mentioned how important getting good laps in qualifying is. Bill Clark not wasting any time in that famous pink pig livery, getting up to speed there in that Porsche 911 GT3R.
Yeah, certainly wanted to get that out there and try to put as much time underneath him as possible. 10 minutes for qualifying is not a lot around a pretty long circuit here. You're going to be looking at lap times just under 2 minutes, so it's going to take a while to get out, and I think Bill's impetus here to get that number 92 out right away is certainly a good one.
Yeah, there's Bill heading down into turn 11. Great passing opportunity, but that's a trouble spot as well. You know as well as I do, DJ, if you get caught up in calamity down there, you've got this long back straightaway that is going to really set you up for another pass. So if you make a mistake leaving turn 11, it'll hurt you in turn 12 as well.
Yeah, it certainly will. As we take a look there on the onboard here, we're going to have some onboard side-by-sides with Bill Clark, as he's got a little bit of a drum kit in the background as well. Hopefully he's going to be able to keep a good rhythm around this circuit, particularly down through the back half right there. A little bit of a squeal of oversteer coming out of the corner there into turn 12. That's not altogether unexpected for these Porsches. Remember, rear engine, rear wheel drive cars. The rear end of the car really wants to kind of slip and slide away from you a little bit, especially on power. So Bill doing a good job of keeping everything underneath him, though.
I love the focus that he's got on his face right now. Look how engaged he is with the race car here in ACC, getting down to the apex, that triple apex right-hander. 16, 17, 18. There's turn 19. Misses the apex there a little bit. He's going to run wide. That might throw that lap away as far as track limits are concerned, so he'll have to go again. That's how critical it is. You have to get it right the first try here. You don't get a lot.
No, you really and truly don't. As there, we're going to see Bill coming back on over the marble build-up on the inside of the track, something else we're going to be talking about over the course of today and indeed this entire series as they continue to have those marbles building up on the outside of the track. That's going to be a real point of contention if you try to go a little bit wide, as it's going to be like, well, driving across marbles if you get off into them.
Yeah, there's a lot of names that are familiar here, and most of the drivers here today are from CrowdStrike or friends and family of both Fanatec GT World Challenge or AWS. Bill Clark, right now the first driver making lap time, but of course we've got a staple here in the paddock. Josh Stafford, the number 93, running the pre-Evo generation Audi, trying some different strategies here as far as car selection. That's one of my favorite things about both ACC and Fanatec GT World Challenge, is that you've got a wide variety of cars to choose from, and you can pick one that might suit your needs better than somebody else.
Yeah, you're going to be able to kind of pick and choose what works best for you here. Josh bringing the car around right now down through turn 11. A mid-engine design here. That means there's going to be great rotation in the middle of the corner in particular, and on some medium and slow speed corners. That car is going to rotate very well. So watch for the Audis to be very effective down into the third sector on this lap.
Yeah, I love the look of the Audi. It's got that naturally aspirated, screaming V10. There's a handful of other names and faces that are familiar with us. Matt Geffeler's back, and this time, well, I was going to say this time he's in something else other than a Bentley, but no, he's, of course, in the venerable Bentley Continental. I love this car. We've gotten to see it in GT America, powered by AWS a couple of seasons ago. One of the unique GT3 cars in that it is, of course, right-hand drive. You get that unique view over the shoulder from what would be the driver's side from a U.S. vehicle.
Yeah, and that is one of the different things. We also got to see a brief appearance by a Bentley, this time last year in Sonoma, when SRM Motorsports Group America had their opening round of the season. Only time we saw it there, though, which was a little bit unfortunate, because I do love this car. Now, let's go ahead and get one awkward thing out of the way when we talk about these cars. Now, you're going to see on the left-hand side of your screen, in particular in the 9th place car, the number 420, Cordes Anderson, that is a Honda badged NSX. Now, we will be referring to that car as an Acura. Why? Because that is what it is branded as here in North America. Acura is a North America only brand, so we will call that an Acura. It will show up as Honda liveried on the sim, but that is because that it is worldwide, and we, well, as you can tell by our accents, are North American, so we're going to call it what it is.
I had someone tell me one time it sounds like watching a baseball game sometimes, DJ, but you know, it's always a blast to share the booth with you. Other cars and drivers returning to the series, Bill Strobel. How about this? The McLaren 720S GT3. I always call these things swoopy looking with how aggressive they are, how curvy they are. Of course, it's got that great biturbo V8 under the rear engine cover as well. It makes one of the best noises, I think, in GT sports car racing.
Yeah, I got to agree with you there about that. And when we were out at PRI, the Motorsports Convention, a couple of weeks ago, Kyle, I had the chance to be able to drive this McLaren in the sim. First time I'd actually been behind the wheel of it, and I got to say, I took to that thing like a duck takes to water. Absolutely fantastic. I love this car. The mid-engine design has some great rotation again through the corners, and I have to agree with you, incredible speed and sound.
Well, and one of them is leading the field right now to 2:05.667. That's a really wicked fast lap. That's Hamza Golzar, who's back again this season. We've seen him in the past, and we'll see him once again. Here he is with his onboard camera, taking a bit of a break down the backstretch, one-handed driving. Hamza's always one to beat, and it looks to be the car to beat so far. 2 McLarens in the top 5, 2 Audis in the top 5, then Aaron Puckett, who is in an Aston Martin Vantage AMR GT3, another one of those great British V8 automobiles. The Trace 3 007 works its way through turn 8.
Yeah, another swoopy car, one of my personal favorites to be able to see on the grid as we take a live look at Aaron. Got to meet Aaron this time out last year at the 8 Hours of Indianapolis, so great to see him back in and being able to work his way through as he brings the car now down into that turn 11. He's going to get a nice draft off of that Ferrari in front of him. That'll help him gain a couple of tenths down this back straightaway.
Yeah, that Ferrari is, I think that's the number 331 of Jensen. And that is the new Ferrari 296 GT3. That's new to competition in 2023. Fantastic looking race car and a fantastic performing one. The first global victory, I believe, or was it the first victory in North America that happened for the 296 back at Road America earlier this year in Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS.
It was the first North American victory taken by the 296, but a back-to-back victory for the 296 nonetheless at Road America. I was scampering up and down pit lane during that race, and it was very, very exciting to see. You could feel that whole Conquest Racing team, just their absolute joy to be able to put that Ferrari up where they wanted to. Really, really special.
Yeah, so again, we see 23 drivers on the top half of the ticker, but there are now 40 drivers here in this field. And some, again, that we've seen in the past. Andy Edwards is here tonight in the McLaren. Nice looking livery on this car, as well as he works through what we call the stadium section, kind of designed after the Hockenheim Ring out in Germany. And Edwards a little bit wide there at turn 15. Alex Asso in the number 930. That's another Ferrari 296. And it looks like we've got a Lexus, Julius Tan in the number 73, the Lexus RCF GT3.
Yeah, and that's an older spec model here. Lexus obviously rolling out a new update to their machinery this year, so we hope to see some of that in GT World Challenge competition. We'll have to see what it is, but always love to see the massive amounts of cars here that we are able to get for all of that, as it looks like Puckett on the 007 is going to be able to work his way on by Tan here at the moment. Gotta say, I do love that livery on the Lexus. That two-tone blue to yellow, kind of a personal favorite of mine. Those are kind of my racing colors.
It's always an attractive color combination for sure, and pretty good diversity up in the top 20 cars or so. You see all the different makes and models. The first of the Mercedes AMGs is in 11th place. That's Tyler Guillemette in the Atomic Mech Racing number 5. Of course, this is very similar in look as far as the make and model are concerned to the CrowdStrike Racing by Riley Motorsports Mercedes AMGs that CrowdStrike Racing pilots in Fanatec GT World Challenge America and in GT America powered by AWS.
Yeah, and those cars, I know we're not supposed to play favorites, but probably one of my favorite liveries on the grid. I absolutely love it, and the Mercedes AMG just makes such a great sound when it comes on by that guttural that you hear coming on through, as you can take a listen to it right now on board the number 5.
And watch the approach into the S's here, and we touched on it a little bit in the track preview earlier, as we're going to get the checkered flag here in qualifying. This S's section kind of designed roughly after Maggots and Beckett's in Silverstone in the UK, but it has a lot more elevation change, and each corner gets subsequently tighter and tighter. And you want to be really aggressive with the track limits here to kind of straight line it as best you can. It's very easy to get yourself a track limits violation, DJ. That will get you a penalty and set you back in a field of 40 cars today.
Yeah, it certainly will, and especially if you're pushing on the opening laps, when remember your tires aren't going to be completely up to temperature. It's going to be interesting to see if they're going to be able to avoid any of those problems, avoid putting themselves into a position where they've got to give back a little bit of time or pick up a penalty or something like that. As we take a look on board there, as this is, I believe, Jason Octon bringing the car around. Big snap oversteer coming off the top of the corner.
Yeah, I think he had already picked up the checkered, so he's doing his cool down. Another Trace 3 machine. This time it's the BMW M4 GT3, which we've seen a couple of times, in Victory Lane this season. Of course, ST Racing had a very successful campaign, especially towards the end of the year with that car combination, DJ. Unique integration with Fanatec as well.
Yeah, very much so. What you're actually able to do with that Fanatec wheel is you can put the Fanatec BMW wheel on your podium DD2 or whatever you have at home, plug that right in, plug it out, bring it to the racetrack, and plug it right into the race car. Keep those creature comforts as close as possible. It's really pretty fantastic.
Here's a look at your qualifying results here. It's Hamza Golzar, Luke Pfeiffer at the top of the board, Aaron Puckett third, then Bill Clark, Josh Staffen, Ian Burleson, the rest of your front 3 rows. And looking down the order a little bit, just outside the top 15, of course, Martin Lassen's there. Matt Feller we touched on, and Edwards, Armstrong, and Jensen, and more. So really competitive field. Look at the top 205, 637, and then it's everybody else. Gulzar's got a pretty good portion on the rest of the field there. But between second, third, fourth, and so on, very tight between everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about hundredths of a second separating these drivers here at this point. Very, very close running between all of them. And I think that's going to portend to a very good race here. We may see Gulzar streak off into the distance ever so slightly. He may be able to get a little bit of an advantage with times like that. A full second ahead here is pretty impressive. But all of that said, it's going to be very interesting to see what he's able to do and what the rest of this field is going to be able to do if they're going to be able to keep close.
Yeah, so there's certainly a lot to talk about as we get into this 40-minute race here in just a couple of minutes' time. Let's talk about the start of this race again. 40 minutes, and it all starts with about a 500-meter run up to Big Red, as you call it, DJ. Very tight, blind apex corner. And then you run down through turn 2. You can get through there side by side, maybe even 3 wide. But when you get to turns 3, 4, 5, and so on, you better not be.
Yeah, you really have to narrow it down. That the opening stints, the opening corners of this track really act like a funnel. You can go very wide into one, and then slowly but surely it's just going to kind of wean everything down into where you've got to go side by side. The real overtaking opportunity, the first one that we're going to see, is potentially going into turn 9. And that is the left-hander that sort of ends the S's. If you're very aggressive there at that point, that's going to be the curb that you could be able to go. Outside of that, look for some craziness coming down into turn 12. That could be certainly an area that we could see that as well off the opening lap.
Yeah, one more look here at the track map to give you kind of a sense of the challenges of the circuit. It's got a bit of everything. It's got tight corners and fast sweeping corners and elevation change and some flat sections. And even the back straightaway. Look at after turn 11 to turn 12. There's a dip and a rise there. The first time I ever did a track walk here, DJ, it struck me just how violent that elevation change is just going down a straight line.
Yeah, it really is. There's that big elevation change there. There's also the elevation change through 14, 15, and 16, or through 16, 17, and 18, if I get the corner numbers right here, as well. There's a lot that sort of breaks away from you there at that point. You know, we know this circuit for the big elevation change coming up and into turn 1, but there's so many little areas on the track that rise and fall and fall and rise that it really makes for a quite dynamic racing surface.
Yeah, and of course, we have to talk about the things that you mentioned earlier, the marbles on the track side as well, especially in a 40-minute race with 40 cars. I'd imagine it's going to get rubbered in very quickly. Offline will be very, very slick. All those challenges we'll have to contend with here in the first round of 5 in this season championship. Our next event is going to be January 6th. That's round 2 at Monza. Round 3 is on January 27th at Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. Round 4 is at Bathurst Mount Panorama on February 17th, and we'll finish things off as we do the real season. Round 5, March 9th at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Your home track there, DJ.
Yeah, my home track indeed. I absolutely love that track, and I love that it has become a part of the SRO calendar. It really just kind of warms my heart a little bit, and it's always fun to be able to go back and, well, be back home again in Indiana.
I like what you did there as we get set to go racing. Just 45 seconds until we start the pacing process. We're going to get a full pace lap and time to heat up your tires, heat up your brakes, get those virtual Pirellis up to operating temperature. And let's go back and talk about the classes once more. Of course, the white number backgrounds are our pro drivers. The red number backgrounds are our AM drivers. And DJ, that's all about the drivers that are here really for the full brunt of the competition, and those that are just here for fun for some winter esports racing.
Yeah, exactly. And we have to remember here that not all of those drivers that are categorized as AM drivers are necessarily amateurs. It's very similar to what we see in SRO competition as a whole, where you have bronze drivers, where you have silver drivers that they may be faster than some gold drivers out on the track. I think of CrowdStrike's own George Kurtz, who is categorized as a bronze driver, but I'd weigh him up against almost any driver in the field. George, an absolutely stellar competitor and quick, as you can imagine.
Yeah, he's just had a great season in 2023. Looking forward to what 2024 holds. As cars roll out and away for their pace lap here, DJ, let's get you rolling here. Just the starting lineup. Let's just roll you through the front handful of rows. Of course, the timing and scoring is on the left-hand side of the screen, so you can follow along. It's Hamza Golzar on the front row in the number 14 McLaren. It's Luke Pfeiffer alongside him in the number 10 Audi. Aaron Puckett rolls off in the second row in the number 7 Aston Martin. Then it's Bill Clark in the number 92 Porsche, the first of those in the field. Josh Staffen starts 5th in the number 93 Audi. Ian Burleson and looks like Justin Picorni start alongside each other in a pair of McLarens. And it's Vlad Dola, who was excellent last season, and Bill Strobel and BMW and McLaren Machinery in 8th and 9th. Jason Octon rounds out your top 10. The first of the Ferraris is Daniel Kavanaugh, who starts 11th in the number 94. Then the first of the Mercedes, Tyler Guillemette, in the number 5. But he is elected to start from the pit lane, DJ, so that's a bit of a surprise.
That is a little bit of a surprise here, and I wonder for Tyler if this is maybe a strategic decision to dive into pit lane here and maybe avoid some of the chaos that he could be thinking could take place at the opening of this race into turn 1.
Yeah, again, with a 40-car grid, anything can happen. But he's the only driver that's elected to do that. The last of the qualifiers was Dante Lansnaster here in the number 500 BMW, and just looking off the nose of this car, he's working his way through turn 7 right now. And look at that line of cars up the road. It is a busy, busy circuit of the Americas.
Yeah, it certainly is. Lots of cars out there, lots of drivers that they're going to have to sort on by, and Lancaster is really going to have to try to, well, make up a lot of positions if he wants to be tasting a little bit of champagne at the end of this race.
Tires warming up. Virtual Pirelli's getting up to operating temperature. Now let's talk a bit about the differentiation between the handling of these cars. We've got some mid-engine cars up at the front. We've got a front-engine rear-drive car, Aaron Puckett, in 3rd. Rear-engine rear-drive car in 4th there. Which is of those layouts is kind of the one that you gravitate to, DJ, and is there any particular reason for that?
I tend to like the mid-engine layout a little bit more. I find that the front engine is a bit understeery, and that's a good thing for a lot of drivers. It means you can push the car, lean on the car a little bit more, be a little bit more aggressive with it, and it's not going to come back to bite you. But I just find through the slower and medium-speed corners that it becomes a little bit frustrating to try to really chuck that car on through. But that's really a personal preference thing, Kyle.
For those watching, both here in North America and around the world, would love to hear your thoughts on Circuit of the Americas and whether you've been there, whether you'd like to go there. It's one of the great tracks in North America that is on the 2024 schedule for Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS and all the SRO Motorsports America series. There's a look at Hamza Golzar as he gets set to double file up alongside Luke Pfeiffer and take us to the green flag here in just a moment's time. 40 minutes go up on the board just after noon in the simulator here in Assetto Corsa Competizione. Again, this is the CrowdStrike Cup Virtual Racing League. Friends and family of CrowdStrike, AWS, and Fanatec GT World Challenge all competing together. Pass some time here in the off-season. Through the last corner. It'll be a long trek up to the start line here. We've got 2 start lines, 2 timing lines at Circuit of the Americas. There's the finish line, which they're about to pass there on the left, and the start line, which is under the main gantry here. There's the green flag in hand of the starter, our virtual Tom Hansing, if you will, DJ.
Indeed, our virtual Tom Hansing, as we get ready to go as all eyes turn towards the flag stand.
Here we go. Golzar, Pfeiffer, Puckett, Clark, your front 2 rows. 40 minutes in the CrowdStrike Cup Virtual Racing League. Green flag flies, and we head up big red. Golzar throttles down the bi-turbo V8 under the rear engine cover of the McLaren, and they're 2-3 wide into the first corner.
Big send there from Pfeiffer, trying to make it work around the outside. That's Puckett also trying to make it move. I see 3-4 wide farther back in the field. Vlad Dola right in the mix of everything in that CrowdStrike number 55 BMW, but it looks like the field's been able to get through turn 1 nice and cleanly.
That was well done. A little 3 wide still through turn 2 in the backdrop now as we sweep through the S's. You got to get yourself single file here. It's so challenging to run through here side by side and carry any semblance of speed, especially without the track rubbered in. But so far, so good as they head up to turn 8. Keep it tight right here, but watch the track limits.
Yeah, they've got to try to get themselves sorted here at this point. Looking, trying to go. Nothing to play there. And now they're going to work their way down into the heavy braking zone for turn 11. Golzar doing exactly what he needs to do. Pfeiffer trying to be able to close in and also play defense.
Yeah, watch Aaron Puckett in this blue and black Aston Martin Vantage AMR GT3 on the back straightaway. He'll have some slipstream. There's a little bit more side by side behind them, though, and it's the Ferrari, the 94 of Daniel Kavanaugh, He was looking on a pass on Justin Picorni, I believe, in the 425. He's now side by side with Strobel, two McLarens drag racing into turn 12. Look at Josh Staffen on the brakes in the Audi up the road.
Oh, Staffen feeling very confident. I'm amazed he got that thing wound up in time. Going to carry a little momentum through the corner. Now that's going to be the McLaren of Strobel trying to fight back a little bit on him, but it's not going to come out to play. Excuse me, that's Burleson. And now Staffen's going to have Clark directly up ahead of him.
And here there was a spin in the background in the hairpin, but I believe the car has gone up and continued as Kavanaugh's right behind this two-car battle between the McLarens. Picorni on the left, and I think that's Strobel on the right in the darker car. Now through this triple apex right-hander, 16, 17, 18, down the hill as you mentioned, and into 19, this fast left-hand sweeper.
Yeah, they're going to try to get that car sorted out here. Kavanaugh trying to see if he's able to get anything to play up in front of him. Picorni not doing the best job of getting it done on Bill Strobel. That's going to actually check up his momentum coming through turn 20. He's got to be careful there as he's going to have an attack coming from behind from that Ferrari if he's not careful.
First lap complete. Golzar leads by 1.3 seconds over Pfeiffer. Three-car battle up into turn 1 now, though. These two drivers are going at it. Strobel wide at turn 1 over those yellow curbs. You do not want to run those over in your low-slung McLaren.
No, you certainly do not, as that's going to do some massive damage to the underbody of the car if you're not careful. And so you're going to have to be very, very, very careful if you continue to try to go here at this point. Try to get everything together, try to be able to get to go, and try to see if you can get anything to play.
Looking a little bit deeper in the field here. There's Ben Armstrong taking a shortcut here, as I think that's Simon Peterson that goes by in the Ferrari. Then Andy Edwards has gone through. Greg Bell is back there in the 999. That is the BMW in tow, the green and yellow car. And then just behind him, another two-car battle. Christian Cortez Anderson in that Acura NSX GT3. And Tito Rivera in the 731. That is one of the few Lamborghini Huracan GT3s that he's going to go for a slide, leaving turn 9.
Yeah, and that's one of the problems there when you talk about the way that car plays, is that it is very, very difficult to be able to get everything slowed down and get everything together. So he is going to have to really fight there to try to get it to go, as that car is going to want to slip and slide. That's just the nature of that mid-engine Lamborghini. It likes to bite you.
Yeah, a couple cars getting sideways behind him, one of which is Jack Collins in the number 22 in the Falcon Complete APJ car of Mercedes AMGs. And this is, I believe, a familiar livery to the cars that we see in Fanatec GT World Challenge. I think it's got the red and silver and some CrowdStrike logos on it as well. But here comes Mitchell Panicari behind him and makes a pass to the inside for 31st place.
Yeah, he's going to try to get something to play here at this point. Jack Collins a little bit farther back in the field right now, trying to see if he can get anything to play. That looks like a pretty familiar livery. That's the one we were talking about there, to be able to get it to go for the CrowdStrike Racing with Riley Motorsports machine.
Back up in the front. There's a car. Ooh, is that Golzar slowing down on the front straightaway? What's happened here? Has there been some dramas that we missed? Let's go back and look. This is through turns 19 and 20. What
right. Yeah, lines up for the corner. Did he maybe get a little bit of that curbing? No, he did not. Kyle, I have no explanation for what that is.
Yeah, I don't either. But he's dropped down to 4th place now, as looks like Luke Pfeiffer is going to take the lead away. And there's, as they were heading up towards turn 1, Aaron Puckett was right behind. It's 0.8 of a second. Luke Pfeiffer just ran the fastest lap of the race. But I don't know what that was all about, but Golzar's dropped to 4th.
All right, he's going to have to try to gain himself back up to position. Aaron Puckett now finds himself in P2 right behind Pfeiffer as they continue to try to work their way through the corners. There we take a live look at Aaron Puckett. And again, that back straightaway, it's not only the time that, you know, the car is able to rest a little bit and calm itself down, but it's also the point on the track where you're able to take a breath as a driver. You saw him there scratching his nose, taking a little bit to refresh himself.
And then as soon as you're done with that, hard on the brakes, leaning in the ABS, and then you're to the most technical section of racetrack, probably in North America, this stadium section here. You have no aero grip. You're leaning on that virtual tire. It's all mechanical grip through this section, and you're setting yourself up for that exit, and then that subsequent run into 19 and 20 to finish out the lap. So a great break up in speed. The first sector is really, really fast. The final sector is fairly slow, but Aaron trying to keep Luke at least within drafting distance here to stay up alongside him.
Yeah, he wants to try to keep him within touching distance here. Now, that Audi has been known to be very, very aggressive, very, very strong as they get themselves going. But we'll have to see if Puckett's able to respond here at this point and get himself into good position.
A little further back, Vlad Dola, Rasmus Larson. If I recall, back to last season, these two have had a couple of very good battles in their past, and they're going to resume that in round one of this season's events. About 7 minutes into the race, Dola leaving turn 20, and Larson throttles up that McLaren and has a pretty good run up onto the front straightaway. And you see those three cars ahead of them. That's Picorni, Kavanaugh, and Burleson, 5th, 6th, and 7th. McLaren, Ferrari, McLaren.
Yeah, they're going to find themselves in good running here at this point. Dola having to go a little bit defensive. That was contact from behind.
Wow. Just like that. Goes around for a loop. Here's what happened. Off into turn 1. And if you have front to rear, just locked up or didn't have the ABS set right and gets into the back of Vlad, and they both spin.
Yeah, that sends him right around there at that point. That's really unfortunate to see that happen here as they go, as they try to be able to get themselves to play. Dola still going to find himself in 8th place, so didn't lose too much as a result of that. And you do see that sort of sportsmanship that you see between the two. But look at this. Rasmus Larson, Sky Tempesta Racing number 78 McLaren. A little bit of a twitch coming off at turn 9, but he's going to put some pressure on the back of Octon.
Yeah, Octon has his mirrors packed full right now as they head down to turn 11. Watch the brake lights there. Larson's going to follow him into the braking zone, but size him up for the run down to turn 12. Watch that apex curve. It's covered in rubber now, but there's a gnarly anti-cut curve that will upset the car. And now it's BMW versus McLaren. I think I'll give the BMW the advantage on the straights, though.
Yeah, that's what we saw a little bit play out over the course of last year. Obviously, we didn't have this McLaren 720 compete with us in SRO GT, Fanatec GT World Challenge America racing last year, but the BMW always seemed to be very, very quick in a straight line. As we take a look on board Octon there, you can see he is really throwing that car through the corners.
Very aggressively throwing the car at it here, and it's going to allow Larson to sweep on by. He's not going to give it up just yet, though. He's got the opportunity to over-under here, leaving turn 15. Wider line, later apex. McLaren, I think, is the slightly more nimble car in this particular section. And it looks like Larson is through on Octon.
Well, and that's exactly what we talked about a little bit earlier with the way that it plays out. The McLaren is a mid-engine car, so it's naturally going to have a little bit better rotation through the corners, and it's going to help through those medium to low-speed corners. With this BMW, the engine's in the front of the car, and it's going to be a little bit more cumbersome. That's one of the McLarens around in the back. That's Alexandru Turtan.
Yeah, that's Turtan in the number 88. He's had some help. Go back and see if we can find out what led to this. He had behind him, it's at the 888 of Bill Strobel, it is. So they were coming through turn 19. Watch Strobel here. I think this is similar to what happened at turn 1, the last lap around. Just mistimed braking on the curb and knocks into the back of the 88, just a slow spin into the marbles.
Yeah, and you could really see there that he was doing absolutely everything he could do to get on the binder, slow that car, and not make contact there with Tirtsan up in front of him. But unfortunately, sometimes you just carry a little bit too much momentum through, Kyle, and, well, that's the end result.
Yep, so it will cost Tirtsan some positions. Luke Pfeiffer, Aaron Puckett, still nose to tail, just 0.6 of a second between them. And a quarter of the way through the race, and Hamza Golzar has gained 1 spot back. And before that spin, I was just about to mention Josh Staffen. Remember, he started inside the top 10. He's now 11th, so I'm not exactly sure what happened to him. But he was down the order a little ways from where he started.
Yeah, not having the best run out here. I wonder if that's just a little bit of teething pains. We're so used to seeing Josh in the Acura. Obviously, Aaron Puckett getting a little bit hairy there coming down through turn 15. He had to back up. That's going to cost him some time.
Yeah, a little gain there. Short-term gain, long-term loss as he charged that corner. But you can only be so aggressive on the brakes before the grip is going to give out on you. Oh, big slide through 19. You can hear the tires protesting that. They did not like that chuck into the corner here. Smooth as fast, DJ, and I think Aaron probably needs to cool down the tires just a little bit before he can ask that much of them.
Yeah, I think that's right. That is one of the things here that Assetto Corsa Competizione does such a great job at modeling, is really that tire life over the course of the session, and that is both in terms of tire grip, tire life, and in terms of tire heat that you've got to manage that. But look at this, Kyle. Golzar already onto the back here of the top 2 leaders. That speed coming from McLaren, certainly quick.
Yeah, three-way fight here for the top spot. That's going to be fun to watch. We got more trouble here. Mats Fabricas-Schmidt in the McLaren has gone around at the exit of turn 20 and picking it up a little late there, but I think just looped it on power, leaving turn 20. A couple other cars getting loose there. That's a pretty slick area of the racetrack because you're coming back up onto a very flat section. You're trying to apply power. There's those big yellow anti-cut curbs. Very easy to make a mistake, jump those curbs, and loop the car around. I've seen it happen in a 120 horsepower Miata, let alone a 500 horsepower McLaren.
Yeah, there is no car that is exempt from it. You just get that speed coming through there, and if you don't bleed off enough, you're gonna find those rear tires absolutely planning. But Mats Fabricas-Schmidt able to find himself back down in 23rd position here at this point, so still has some work to do. That's Bell right in front of him, as well as Cortez Anderson. I've got to imagine that Mats is gonna want to try to get through these cars as quickly as possible, get him back up to where he thinks he ought to be, and he looks like he's making quick work of it here.
We're on the outside of turn 10. That's going to be tight here as you come down over the crest there. You've got some downforce to lean on, but it's still tricky to make a pass there because the track falls away from you. On the outside of turn 11, Tori Gilbert's just behind in the 33. That's one of those new 296 Ferraris. Peter Rivera, Tyler Reed, Mike Jensen, Greg Snader, and more all in this pack back here as Mads is now going to have to drag race that BMW and a trailing Ferrari. That was Gilbert in the Ferrari.
Yeah, Gilbert's going to send a move here up to the inside, at least if he can outbrake him going down into turn 12, but that's not going to play itself out. Mats Fabricas-Schmidt carries a little bit more speed, but carries a little too much speed off the apex there, coming down into 12. Able to gather that McLaren back up underneath him, and now by the time they go through 13, they'll be okay.
BMW just ahead, a little wide as well, but just behind them, we mentioned Jack Collins earlier. He's got Greg Snader ahead of him. That's the Ferrari. Behind him is an Aston. That is what car is this? Just behind the 22. It's Mitchell Panicari.
That's one of the Nissan GT3Rs. We haven't seen those for a while. The only time we saw it here in SRO Motorsports competition this year was a one-off entry back at Road America. But before that, I think it had been a good 4 or 5 years before we had seen that car take to the track in American racing.
Yeah, really unique car, this Nissan. Whoa, see the slide there. Tyler Reed from Operation Motorsport throttling up here on the front straightaway. Of course, Operation Motorsport, partner with CrowdStrike Racing in SRO Motorsports America. They have some really neat initiatives to get service members back into a group setting. And they've, of course, just had their Race of Remembrance, which is a once annual race overseas in England where they do, or is it Scotland, where they have a race that benefits all those service members. And they had two, I believe they were Toyota 86s there this year participating. But see Operation Motorsport right now in the 47 car represented there. A little damage on the McLaren just ahead. I think that's Snader who has some, no, this is the car I was looking for. This is that Aston with the Falcon product on the side of it. Falcon's one of CrowdStrike's security products. You know, I think it's been changed since, but CrowdStrike's previous slogan was "Every second counts," and I thought it was so apt because of the tie-in with the motorsports thing. DJ, you and I both know how important it is that every second on the racetrack you're finding speed, and Hamza Golzar lost some speed earlier, but now he's right back in the mix. This is a battle for second overall.
Yeah, it's they try to fight back here, and Kyle, I believe you have made an absolute faux pas. The Race of Remembrance was not in Scotland, nor was it England. It was in Wales, my friend.
So, yeah, there was one broadcast I had a Brit announcing with me, and he knew more about a college sports team here in the U.S. than I did, and that was an embarrassing blunder. So there's more where that came from. What I meant. But if you're watching on the SRO Motorsports Twitch, Taylor's got some info for you on the Race of Remembrance. It's really cool. I did watch the broadcast of it, which they do live stream every year.
Yeah, it's always a good event to be able to hone in on, and it always kind of falls in the course of when there isn't a lot of other racing action out on the circuit, out of the world. So it's always one of those ones you're able to check in. But we've got to watch here as Hamza Golzar trying to make a move going down into turn 11. Not going to be able to get it done on Aaron Puckett, but certainly going to be able to look for the crossover and a better run here. Coming off of turn 11 down the back straightaway. The draft is going to come into effect here for the McLaren as the Aston Martin driver tries to hold him off.
Will he throw the defense on him? That's the next question here. Drivers got right side tires on the curbing in the braking zone. Is that going to throw off the brakes here? Look at Golzar all the way on the rumbles into turn 12. And now this is the crossover game here. Challenging area of the racetrack, but it opens up so many over-under opportunities. Will this battle take them out of the battle for the lead, though, as Pfeiffer tries to scamper away?
Now Pfeiffer's going to try to do everything that he can to be able to get himself into position here, and we're closing in on halfway through this race at the moment. Let's see if they're able to go right now, see if they can get anything to play. It looks like Golzar is just going to have to hold in behind.
Love this section of the racetrack here, setting yourself back up. Turn 19 in particular, such a fast corner. See Aaron using every inch of the racetrack plus a little bit. This year, when we were there last May, Race Control did allow drivers to use all the stages, the rumbles out there at turn 19. It extends the track a little bit, makes it pretty fun because you can carry that much more speed.
Yeah, exactly, and it really opened up the track here. I mean, we talked about that overtaking opportunity going down into turn 9. That normally when you run it in the way that they kind of think about the traditional thing, when you get 4 lines out and over, or 4 wheels out and over, that's really not an overtaking opportunity. But by extending that curbing limit just a little bit, it really presented a whole new opportunity for drivers, and it was pretty fantastic to see.
And as far as pit stops, no pit stops this race. It's a 40-minute sprint from start to finish. Similar to the GT America powered by AWS. No pit stop, single driver. The only difference between GT America powered by AWS and this, no GT4 field in this. And of course running, I guess technically this would be SR03, wouldn't it, DJ, with some of the older homologations running in this race?
Yeah, I guess it would be as well. I think you're right about that. Obviously, we don't have the Callaway Corvette that we see sometimes in SR03, although that car has officially exited out of homologation. But that leads us into a great way of talking about we've got a new Corvette coming in next year, piloting with DXDT Racing, partnering with them. Kyle, you and I had the chance to be able to take a look at that car at the Indy 8 Hour. I am so excited for that thing to take to the track.
Yeah, what a neat vehicle. Of course, this is the real true GT3 homologation upcoming for next year. DXDT Racing running that new program, and how exciting is it for another manufacturer to join, and especially an American manufacturer in a series that carries that the stars and stripes in its name. So really, what an exciting opportunity to see some new cars join. Of course, Ford's also got their new Mustang GT4 that's floating around, as well as the GT3 that is beginning next year as well. So it's an exciting time for GT3 racing, not only for DXDT Racing and Corvette, but for some other American makes too.
Yeah, it certainly is, and keep your eye open on the SRO social media channels, whether it is Pirelli GT4 or Vanatech GT World Challenge America powered by AWS, as more and more team and driver announcements will be made over the next couple of months here as we lead up to our April start date in Sonoma.
Yeah, exciting season. A couple new changes and additions. Of course, we're heading back to the streets of Long Beach as well, which I'm very excited about. Also, a return to Barber Motorsports Park, which it's been on the schedule a long time in the past, but not in the series' current configuration, and really exciting to be heading back there. And of course, a return to Sebring International Raceway, but earlier in the year rather than its previous September date. So a lot of shuffling in the season, but all exciting news.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very exciting. And again, keep your eyes tuned to all of the SRO Motorsports Group social media channels for more updates as they come about teams, drivers, all of that. As we see Josh Staffen making a move there down to the inside of Rasmus Larson, able to get by in that Audi machine, the number 93, to put himself in prime position as we take a look at the replay.
Yeah, that was a fun battle here. Watch Staffen approach Larson from behind here at turn 1. See the slide there from the McLaren, runs wide up onto those bump curbs there, and then down alongside him through turn 2. That's a very challenging corner to remain alongside, but Staffen was able to fire it in here, keep it tight, and complete the pass into the S's. What a move there by Staffen, kind of recouping some of the positions he lost a little earlier in the night.
Yeah, he's going to just try to gain back as much as he can here at this point, try to put himself into position to walk away with as many points as possible. 8th place, a little bit farther down than we would expect from Josh Staffen, but he's certainly doing everything that he can do right now to get himself into good position. Vlad Dola about 3 seconds up the road from him, so he's still got some work to do. But this battle for P2, Kyle, this isn't going anywhere, and I've got to say, I'm a little bit surprised Hamza Golzar hasn't been able to send this move on Aaron Puckett as quickly as we saw Golzar make it. Here he comes, though.
Wow, he didn't waste any time once he got to the bumper. He fired it in there into turn 20. Wasn't able to completely capitalize on it, but he is absolutely on it right now as he chases Puckett up the hill, and there's some lap traffic to contend with as well. That's going to bring in some excitement into this.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very sketchy here as they try to get everything to go. Puckett going to be, I think, actually bogged down a little bit by that BMW in front of him. They're both going to get on by. I thought it was Puckett that was going to lose positions, but indeed it actually looked like there that Golzar was the one that lost a little bit of the running, so he's going to have to put himself back into order here.
Watch the McLaren, though. Such a low slung car, low center of gravity through the S's. I think that's going to have an advantage over the Aston. Look at it close through turn 5 and 6 into 7 and 8. I like this McLaren in this fast transient section here. Maybe the Aston's got a bit more torque and a bit more grunt, leaving some of the slower corners like this. You see Golzar have to correct with some oversteer, and the leader, look way up the road, Pfeiffer to the inside of some lap traffic. Could this bog down Puckett leaving turn 11? Here they go.
Oh, it certainly is as they get their way on by the blue and yellow BMW. Oh, contact there for Golzar. That's going to slow down some momentum. I thought he was going to have a great run coming off of the corner, but that's clearly going to arrest a little bit of it.
It's amazing how it didn't even phase him, but now the slipstream off of the car ahead, so Puckett's going to drop to the left, so will Golzar. On the run down to turn number 12 now, Pfeiffer has lost some ground additionally. He was well clear, about a second and a half. Now it's just 7/10. We get down to the final 17 minutes of this race.
Yeah, and this is going to get very, very spicy here at this point. Throw a blanket over the top 3 at the moment. It is game on for the lead of this race.
Look at this, Pfeiffer had such a huge advantage, and it's completely gone now. But Puckett's got so much mirror packed full of Golzar, I'm not sure that he can even afford to look out the windshield right now as they sweep through 16, 17, and 18. Golzar is just absolutely firing everything he's got at Puckett. Into 19. Pfeiffer trying to scamper away while he's got the opportunity.
Yeah, he's going to try to scamper away as Golzar again is going to take that look down into turn 20 here at this point. Puckett has to give him space. That could be the opportunity here that Golzar needed.
Side by side, it's a drag race now. Which British make do you pick for this battle? Is it Aston Martin? Is it McLaren? Door to door up the front straightaway here at Circuit of the Americas. It's the Aston that prevails. And late on the brakes again. Is it too late? No, Puckett's sideways.
And that's going to open up the door for Golzar, and he finally was able to get that to move here at this point. Now Hamza is going to be able to set his eyes ahead on Pfeiffer and try to close down on that German mark in front of him.
Yeah, Pfeiffer took the opportunity to drive back out to a 1.5 second advantage. We'll check back in on this a little bit later in the show to see how things tighten up. Meanwhile, a bit deeper in the field, 17th place, Simon Hem Peterson in the number 18. And Pratik Mishra, who we're looking at right now. This is Team WRT livery on this number 747. Skechers got the 46 on the side. But a little bit deeper, just keeping our eyes peeled for other battles happening throughout this very deep field. Matt Feller, I think, is the only driver that is currently in the pit lane. I think Dante Landsmaster is out. Everyone else is running. This is Julius Tan, the last driver running on the racetrack, 38th place, and still just fighting away to try to finish this race out.
Yeah, just trying to do everything they can do here. Again, all these drivers want to fight for position. They want to find themselves as far ahead as they can, put themselves into its best position. Is there, it looks like Julius Tan going to get past. That is the lapping car, rather, of, I believe, Josh Staffen making his way on by him.
It looks to be Josh Staffen, indeed it is, and he's just carved his way back up to about 7th in the field right now, or 8th place, rather. As Justin Picorni, who's just ahead of him here, is feeling some pressure from that trailing Audi.
Starting to feel it here. And remember, that was about a 3-second gap for Josh Staffen. This is really pretty impressive that he's been able to close this down as well as he has. And that really just goes to show Josh's ability to be able to drive this car to the extreme degree.
Yeah, he told us, he made his excuses before the broadcast even started that he was using the non-Evo Audi. And his reasoning for this was he was trying some traction control tricks to find some pace, but I don't know that, the Evo generations of GT3 cars, while they're all in the same performance window, the Evos gain you quite a bit as far as electronics complexity and some aero refinements and things. So obviously the Evo generations of GT3 cars are the best of the best as far as their classification goes. So a bit surprising there, but he's making it work. Luke Pfeiffer also running an R8 out front right now by 0.9 of a second. That's a smaller number than it was a lap or two ago.
Yeah, it just continues to close down here at this point. And once again, I think some of that knowledge actually for Josh came out as a result of what happened at PRI. Josh was part of the staff that was helping us run those community races, and he was taking notes on all of the other drivers that were in the sims, just kind of making notes of what was doing well, what wasn't doing well, things like that. It just goes to show you that you can always be learning something as a race car driver, even when you are not there necessarily as a driver.
More lap traffic for Pfeiffer, and Golzar is closing in. Again, we don't know what caused him to pull over before, but he lost a couple of positions, dropped down to 4th, but here comes Golzar trying to wrestle the lead back in the final 13 minutes of this race through turn 15. Audi versus McLaren. Similar drivetrain setup here, both mid-engine cars. The R8 naturally aspirated V10, and it's a turbo V8 in the rear engine cover of the McLaren.
Yep, and here they go. You can really tell the differences in the sound there. Ooh, caught a little bit of the curve to the inside. Did Pfeiffer, and this is the opportunity that Golzar's been looking for.
Side by side for the lead into turn 20, and Golzar is through, but can he hold on to it here as Pfeiffer tries to cross him over? But now it's a run up the front straightaway. Defense and slipstream here for the trailing Audi.
And there's going to be Golzar sneaking down to the inside, trying to hold that line to the best of his ability. Let's see if he's able to do it. He may go a little bit deep, but checking up the momentum there was Pfeiffer. That's going to prevent any opportunity there. I thought for a second Puckett was going to get involved in it, but I think Puckett had a spin, having to slam on the brakes.
I was going to say, where did he go and all that? He was right on into turn 1, and yes, it was just a self-spin when he was slowing the car down right behind those front two, just shifted too much weight forward, and when all the grip shifts to the front, you've got nothing in the rear, and he's lost some ground now, and kind of chasing the car through the S's as the lead battle continues.
Yeah, he's going to have to try to hold on to it here at this point, but let's see what he's able to do. Golzar up into the lead gap, already about 3/4 of a second. Let's see at this point if he's able to hold on to it in quite the way he wants to.
Well, as far as their best lap of the day, Golzar's is 0.3 better than Luke Pfeiffer's, but remember that Golzar didn't lead most of this race. He was spending his time pulling back up to Pfeiffer. I don't know that Luke's out of this yet, but he's got to be aggressive in maintaining the slipstream here. Once he drops out of the slipstream, I think Golzar's raw pace should be quite a bit better.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that, but we'll have to see how it plays out. We'll have to see if he's able to get anything to play here as they dive down into the hairpin of turn 12. Pfeiffer doing a good job of staying behind, staying nice and close here as they run. Let's see if he can continue it on, though.
To the stadium section here, Pfeiffer a little bit sideways, trying to get the power down to the ground. Charging into turn 15 there, Golzar not phased at all and beginning to try to put some distance back on Pfeiffer. That battle is, the embers are glowing still, but I think the fire is mostly out. Let's jump back a bit deeper in the field. Daniel Cavett, the number 94 in the Ferrari. He's got some cars just up the road. Bill Strobel is one of them in the McLaren. Rasmus Larson and others. There's that Nissan pulling off to the left.
Yeah, it's going to pull off to the left there. Strobel doing a good job, not driving particularly defensive here at the moment. He's just driving his own racing line, not letting anything behind him bother him. And that, to me, Kyle, shows just a driver that feels connected, feels in good stead with his car, and that's exactly the kind of thing you want to have.
Yeah, noticing that Andy Edwards has a drive-through penalty, and usually at COTA, that means one of two things. Either you got yourself in a collision or you have gone off track too many times. I'm going to guess it's the latter here with the track limits, and that is going to be a costly penalty for Edwards, who runs inside the top 20 now. That will drop him outside of it, with Ben Armstrong and Jack Collins not too far behind, and it is a long pit lane here, especially at just 50K.
Yeah, it's a very, very long pit lane. It doesn't feel as long necessarily as, say, it does in Indianapolis or say a Road America necessarily, but it is still a very long pit lane because it is narrow and that speed is so minimal. Andy Edwards, though, looking down to the inside, going to try to get the run off at the corner there on Mishra, but I don't think it's going to happen.
I think Mishra is the BMW. I think it might be a lap car that he was going around here. Here's Mishra in the BMW, and this is chasing Simon Hemp-Peterson for 17th place in the field. This is Ferrari versus BMW. And down the hill through turn 2. Look at that Ferrari just skip and just scamper away through the more transient sections of this racetrack, the fast lefts and rights. But now look at the BMW. Pratik just charging in to the S's with brute force with that Bavarian M4 trailing behind.
Yeah, just trying to get it to play here as they go. And by the way, we have had a question here in the Twitch chat. No, there are no pit stops during the course of this race. This is a true sprint race here as Pratik Mishra trying to close down on Peterson in front of him. We're keeping an eye on this battle. This, again, is for the final 2 podium positions in that AM category.
Yeah, just keep an eye on the Pro versus AM field as it stands. Of course, it's Golzar, Pfeiffer, and Puckett on the front 3 positions for the Pro category, but it's Alexandru Tirtan in the number 88, Peterson in the 18, and then that 747 of Mishra. So that might be one of the fiercest battles in the final 8 minutes of this race. And 8 minutes at COTA, over 2 minutes and 5 seconds a lap. It's not a lot of laps left to go in this one.
No, there really aren't. This is closing down on what will be the end of this race as there Golzar able to make his way by a little bit more lap traffic. That's exactly what he needs to do. He needs to not be hung up behind any of these lap cars. He needs to just push, and try to get by him as quickly as possible.
And Pfeiffer has dropped about 2.5 seconds off of the tailpipes of the 14, so I don't know that he's going to have enough time without a mistake from Golzar. So he's got enough ground now that he can kind of pick and choose his battles here. It helps that the lap traffic has been very kind to him in this race ever since he's taken the lead away. Going back even a little bit deeper in the field. How about a little spicy action here? Lucian Karp in the number 6. And I think that's Tirtan in the number 88. Indeed it is. Battle for 14th place.
Yep, they're going to keep that up here at this point, trying to see if they're able to force themselves out a little bit. Tirtan trying to see if he's able to get any sort of a run off of the corner in that McLaren versus Ferrari here at this point. A pretty familiar sight in the world of racing as a whole. Let's see if he's able to get anything to play here.
Oh, Karp's off track there in the S's. It's going to cost him some time, and Tirtan around the outside, but he wasn't able to make it stick in the marbles.
Nah, just wasn't able to get it done. He's going to be kicking himself for that. I think Kyle really thought he was going to be able to get a much better play at that and a much better opportunity to push himself ahead. Just didn't play itself out.
Yeah, let's see if they can get a run here on. I think this is a lap car just ahead of them. It's the 73 of Julius Tan that they're about to go by. He's going to pull to the inside. Tirtan late on the brakes, too late though, and he's going to overshoot that. And Karp, whoa, crossover there. Didn't work out right over the curbs, over the rumbles, and that battle has fizzled.
Yeah, it's definitely fizzled out here at this point. Just under 6 minutes left to go on the clock, though, and a lot of the battles are starting to fizzle, but there's still some that need to stay alive, particularly here if you are Hamza Golzar, as he needs to just continue to slice and dice his way through the traffic as quickly as possible. Bill Strobel also going to be under pressure here from Rasmus Larsen behind him.
Yeah, he's definitely got his hands full at the moment. Strobel does. Here's his on board here. He's one of the drivers in virtual reality. I love the look at this here. No monitors, no clumsy screen setup. He's completely immersed in the virtual world here in ACC. And he's got Rasmus Larsen down in Kavanaugh right in the rear view with 5 minutes to go. Love the Fanatec CSLDD mounted up there on the rig as well as he rockets up the front straightaway in his McLaren.
Well, and I am very fascinated by what's going on with his feet there, Kyle. As you notice, he's doing this barefoot. Now, that is not normally something we see all the time.
Yeah, Larsen was sideways, managed to correct it, but it will cost him some time. You're right, though, DJ, to your point. That's a choice. Of course, you don't have to wear fireproof anything in your home rig, thankfully. So you've got the choice. Some drivers prefer shoes, some drivers prefer not. Socked is kind of normally the standard, I think, but it all depends on your comfort level and how you feel you can best control your car.
I know for me, I have a pair of racing shoes that I wear and a set of gloves. That's just my comfort level and how I like to do it. But there are plenty of other drivers who have different opinions on it and feel things out a little bit differently. It just all depends on creature comfort and what's going to make you feel the best.
Yeah, I think the virtual reality thing's really neat, though. Again, I've gotten able to dabble a little bit in virtual reality and triple screens and things of the sort. Anything that gives you a better perspective of what's happening around you is going to help you in a racing context and understand how close you are to the next closest thing. And just really neat technology that's only going to get better. And as far as pricing goes, you're considering monitors versus or VR setup. It's typically cheaper now to do VR. It just requires a bit more firepower under the hood of your PC, at least.
Yeah, exactly. That's really what it comes down to, is that Rasmus Larsen here, though, continuing to try to defend from Kavanaugh and having to defend against the car itself, as that Sky Tempesta Racing number 78 McLaren sliding all over the place.
Looks like it's driving on a cloud right now, just kind of slipping and sliding around. Doesn't have the rear grip that he needs. That might just be a traction control setting away. But there is, traction control, which you have in these cars, and ABS. You can tweak them to your heart's content, but there is a point when you can be too aggressive with that switch, and you're going to be sapping power when you want to be going forward. The car is going to be pulling it from you to try to keep those wheels from spinning. So that is one of those things that you can adjust over the course of the race as conditions allow. But Larsen might need to tweak that at the moment because he's got Kavanaugh in the 94 Ferrari breathing down his neck.
Yeah, he certainly does, as Kavanaugh's going to be trying to put the pressure here as much as possible. There you can see a little bit of cars in front of him. I think that is, wide run there for Larsen. This could be the opportunity that he needs.
Yeah, he's close. He's within slipstream distance as well. Kavanaugh a bit tighter on the rumbles here. Into the S's. How aggressive are you with the track limits? They're not, a little bobble there from Kavanaugh. The S's at COTA, when you get them right, it feels awesome. It's just a long time between the last time you got it right and the time you're trying right now. It's such a challenging section of racetrack. It always feels like you're doing it wrong. But when you do it right, you feel like Superman.
Yeah, exactly. It really and truly is a rhythm section of the track. You just got to try to get it all underneath you, and if you get it right, each corner flows into the other absolutely beautifully. And like the corners that they are based on, Maggots and Beckett's is another wide run there from Rasmus Larsen. If you get the first one wrong, you find yourself in problems for the rest of the lap.
Yeah, Larsen's really struggling with that rear grip. And Kavanaugh's closing in the slipstream here. Is he going to have a look into turn 12? He's going to offset to the right. Late on the brakes, big dive into turn 12. Can he make it stick here on the bottom? Larsen, if he can hang this line to the right, he'll have the preferred line into turn 13. He's still got overlap here, door to door into 13.
All right, let's see if he's able to get it to go. If he can keep that car around the outside, he's not quite able to do it, and the McLaren's going to be able to hold off for the moment, but still on the attack here is Kavanaugh.
Yeah, great battle here. I think that's a lap car just ahead. Kavanaugh's trying everything to get alongside him here. Leader is on the last lap, by the way. Golzar's taking the white flag. Kavanaugh's got to run here, but where do you go with it?
Yeah, that's the real question here at this point. Where do you go? How do you get it to play? Let's see if he can go wide run there for Larsen up in front again, and not able to seal the deal. There is Kavanaugh.
Yeah, Kavanaugh got loose at the same exact time. So they're going to have one lap left to do this battle. We'll check in on it. Where's Golzar? He's down at turn 11 in the thick of traffic, but it's got 3 seconds back to Pfeiffer now, so that's going to give him a little bit of time to play. Bill Clark, though, trying to close in on Aaron Puckett. Scott Ian Burleson not too far back in a McLaren. About half a second between those two.
All right, let's see if he's able to get anything to go here at this point. Clark moving his way along. Bill's had a quiet race here, but a good one nonetheless.
Yeah, a quiet race, but that's all you can ask for if you're in the top 5 and just clicking away laps. It'll be a great point stay as well. So he'll be sure. I'm happy to. Well, we'll see how happy he is with a 4th rather than a win. But here's Larsen, and Kavanaugh has snuck by in the 94 up to it's like 9th place. So job well done there. Hamza Golzar, though, has done his duty. Made a mistake early, had to drop on back DJ, but he has rebounded. And not only that, he built a 3-second lead and he's going to come home to win the first round here in the CrowdStrike Cup Virtual Racing League at COTA.
Yeah, it's absolutely an incredible run there for him. He's got to feel very, very pleased about that as he's going to come across the line.
Hamza Golzar wins round 1 of the CrowdStrike Cup Virtual Racing League here from Circuit of the Americas. And he'll be celebrating that one. Luke Pfeiffer will come home in second. Aaron Puckett in third. What a battle those two had mid-race. Bill Clark not too far behind in fourth place. And Ian Burleson, Josh Staffen back up to sixth place. See the fireworks off in the distance there. Here's Staffen rounding the last couple of corners. He had a busy race in that Audi R8.
Yeah, he certainly did. Had a very, very busy race indeed to be able to get everything pulled up underneath him. You got to say, very impressive there to see him be able to get anything to go, and he did a great job to be able to hold on to it. Yeah, Kavanaugh and Larson. I think Larson just completely burned up his tires and through the first sector last time around. Kavanaugh was able to finally sneak by, and this will be a 9th place result, the highest running of the Ferrari 296s. And Daniel Kavanaugh, 9th place. Larson grabs a 10th. Vlad Dola will grab 11th, and then the first of our AM competitors, Alexandru Terzan in the number 88 in the McLaren 720S. This will be a great points day for him to start things off. Yeah, it'll be very good for him to start things off with. He'll be pretty happy with that, I have to imagine. Here comes Alexandru Terzan in the yellow and white and black McLaren 720S GT3. He wins in the M category, and Partik Mishra in the number 747 was granted a second because of a drive-through penalty for Simon Hem-Peterson, likely track limits related. And if he doesn't serve this, I don't know how far down he's going to drop, but that could promote Ben Armstrong up to podium. He's going to have to serve it here. But Ben Armstrong is going to come on through, and I think he's going to grab third place. He will indeed finish third in the M category. All right, so a good run there for him. Well, here's a look at your race results here, DJ. What a drive by Golzar in particular. Dropped to fourth and then back up to the front. Pfeiffer, Puckett, Clark, Burleson, your top 5. Really, the front 3 were the volatile drivers there. Clark and Burleson had a pretty quiet day, but I'm sure they'll take a top 5 run. Yeah, I'm sure they will as well. Just good results here on the whole for a lot of these drivers. Good, solid consistency, and crucially here, Kyle, we didn't see that much scruffiness. Everything was pretty much together, everything was pretty much clean, and everything was able to get where they needed it to go. Yeah, and just looking down the rest of the order here, well, we've got a moment. Look at Josh Staffen, 6th place, then Picorni, Strobel, Kavanaugh, Larson, the rest of your top 10. That's all where those drivers landed in. And then, of course, Alexandru Terzan picks up a win in the AM category. That'll be a great start to his season as far as the championship is concerned. And, DJ, the challenge you have with championships that are only 5 rounds long, you don't get a lot of mulligans, so you need to have a good round from the very get-go. Exactly, and that's the thing that you see from a lot of these drivers is despite the fact that they had a little bit of a rough run here, everybody stuck through it because they know you need to be able to get those points as quickly and as fast as possible to be able to put yourself into position to capitalize when somebody else has a bad race. So Circuit of the Americas here, DJ. How about that? 40 minutes, we had no shortage of action. I think the most exciting thing for me was that we had 40 drivers start this race and 38 finish. That's a very, very impressive number to finish a race when we've got competition like we have. Yeah, I think so as well, especially around such a difficult circuit like Circuit of the Americas. I mean, this is a tricky place to be able to go. Yeah, there's a lot of paved runoff, but those curves can really throw you for a loop, and we've seen some pretty spicy accidents here, so massive credit to our entire CrowdStrike Racing League field. Yeah, certainly. It was a fantastic race, and of course we have 4 more of these rounds before we will finish off the season. The next is January 6th, round 2 at Monza. Completely different racetrack, DJ. Similarly high speed, but you don't have the super tight technical sections that we had here at Circuit of the Americas. No, you really don't. You really only have, well, 3 chicanes and the Lesmos and the Parabolica. I mean, we're talking about just the ultimate temple of speed as they get themselves back and going there. So I think you're going to see different cars come into play as well because straight line speed going to be the king around that Italian venue. It certainly will be king. It was such a blast to be with everybody here today for the CrowdStrike Cup Virtual Racing League. DJ, final thoughts here on COTA before we take a holiday break and kick things off again on January 6th. Well, I think this is a great forebearer of what is to come, Kyle. Good, clean racing, tight side-by-side across the entirety of the field, and definitely some interesting things to play out here. I think we're going to see a close championship and some great races as this series continues on.
Of course, make sure to subscribe. If you're watching on the CrowdStrike Racing YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe to make sure you don't miss any other races this season. And if you're on the SRO Motorsports Twitch, absolutely subscribe. There's plenty of great content, real and virtual, coming your way the next couple of months. You also can catch all the real-world live streams here with Ash Vandelay. Of course, she'll make an appearance here relatively soon as well. We've also got an SRO community race happening next Thursday as well. So if you're in a U.S. time slot on a Thursday night, you might get your shot to be live on Twitch with us here. Sign-ups are on the SRO Discord. You can find that information on the SRO socials. Kyle Heyer alongside DJ Clark. Thanks so much for joining us here today from Circuit of the Americas for the CrowdStrike Cup Virtual Racing League. We'll see you next time here on SRO Motorsports America.